Welcome back for my Game Week 3 team selection for FPL. Let me know in the comments how you got on in Game Week 2, and let's jump straight into having a look at how I got on last week. And I had a fantastic week, ending the week on 95 points and a rank rise up to 132,000, and that's obviously without using the triple captainship. I kept Raya in net, and he managed to keep another clean sheet even against Aston Villa. And in hindsight, I should have just realised how strong Arsenal were going to be, and doubled up on the Arsenal defence again and put Hall on the bench, but that's just if buts and maybes. I'm still really happy with my team. So Raya ended up with 10 points from a clean sheet, extra save points and 3 bonus points, so he's been so worth the extra million so far this season. I then had Robinson in defence, and even though Leicester scored and Robinson lost his clean sheet, he did manage to get an assist and 2 bonus points, which is it's the exact reason I had him in my team. And I spoke about this last week. He looks so good going forward, and even in the 1-0 loss to Man United in Game Week 1, he looked good for bonus points then until they conceded, so very happy with his 7 points this week. Robinson's also risen in price to 4.6 million, so he's clearly becoming a more popular option now. Lewis Hall was benched for Newcastle this week, which, I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect at all. And then, annoyingly, he came off the bench for a 1-pointer. And those first 2 fixtures were the ones I really wanted him for, but now I'll probably just have to wait and see next week if he's back in the starting lineup and make a decision from there. I was never going to play him against Tottenham anyway, realistically. And then finally for defence, Pedro Porro, who wasn't involved in the attacking returns this week, even with Tottenham scoring 4, but because they also kept the clean sheet, he ended up with 6 points. So I'll definitely take that. And how bad do Everton look, by the way? Definitely a team to target at the minute. They look absolutely awful. Into midfield I had Eze, who again blanked, but it's so annoying because he's got Chelsea away next up, so a lot of people are looking at selling him. But he's made so many chances. We spoke about how unlucky he was not to come away with points last week after he even scored a free kick and the ref made the mistake. And then this week he hit the crossbar as well. I just feel like he's been unlucky not to get points. And when he's putting up those kind of numbers, at some point he's going to get a big haul. And I want him in my team for that. And that could be against Chelsea. And then I had Smith Rowe, which worked out exactly how I wanted it to. He got a goal and 3 bonus, so ended up on 10 points. I'm very happy I included him in my team. And I think he's still probably the best 5.5 million option at the minute. He's actually risen in price to 5.6, so hopefully he keeps rising. So by the time he becomes a sell, we can make some money on him. Son made up for the disappointment of last week and made it worth keeping the faith in him against Everton by scoring 2 goals, and he got 3 bonus points. Son ended up on 16 points, and so I was very happy that I kept him in my team for Game Week 2. Jota still looked good against Brentford, but only came away with an assist, so finished on 6 points. I'll definitely take that though. 14 points from the first 2 game weeks for a 7.5 million asset. It is good, and hopefully he keeps starting for Liverpool. Into attack, Isak carried on being slightly disappointing, to be honest, blanking against Bournemouth with an XG of just 0.26 created. And Newcastle on the whole didn't look great in that game. Joe Linton probably should have been sent off for his challenge on Neto towards the end of the game too. So I've got a decision to make on Isak, but we'll talk about that later in the video. Wood also blanked and came away with a yellow card, so just the 1 point for him this week. Not the end of the world because Mooney's also blanked, who's the other 6 million attacker. But I did expect a bit more from him this week. He's risen in price to 6.1 million, and the plan originally was always to take him out after Game Week 3. So I'll probably leave him for now and see what he's like in Game Week 3, but I'm worried about him losing his starting spot too, as well as Forrest just looking a bit mediocre so far this season. And then finally for my Game Week 2 team, it's the big one, the one that many people triple captained, but I decided not to, and that's Haaland. He went and scored a hat-trick against Ipswich, which we always knew was possible. So I don't think any Haaland non-owners can complain really, and I'll take the 34 points from him. Ipswich did score first in that game, but City then scored 3 goals in 3 minutes, so they're clearly just too strong for Ipswich. Overall, I'm really happy with the team as a whole, and Haaland's 34 points took me to a total 95 points overall. And I'm already at a rank I'm really happy with for the start of the season. The only decision I got wrong on the bench was benching Gabriel, who got 6 points from their clean sheet against Villa. And then I had Hull in my team, who was obviously benched. But again, it's all hindsight. And actually, even if I put Gabriel in, it wouldn't necessarily have been Hall that I took out. So I'm not too worried about that. Minter and Conte are both blanked, but I'm looking at them for other weeks anyway. So yeah, very happy this week. Let's now have a look at some potential transfers for Game Week 3. My first potential transfer is Son to Parma. And I know Son has just scored 16 points for me, but he plays Newcastle away and Arsenal at home in the next two fixtures. And Palmer's just gone and scored 17 points last week. So he was against Wolves, and he still looks like Chelsea's talisman. Palmer's got a good run of fixtures with Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton and Forest coming up next. And he's also a captain option when Haaland isn't. And so with the 0.5 in the bank that I need to go from Son to Palmer, it's looking like a good option for me. Especially as at the time of recording, it's looking like Palmer might rise in price pretty soon. Other potential is Isak to Watkins and Wood to João Pedro. With Villa's really good run of fixtures coming up, being Leicester, Everton, Wolves and Ipswich, I want a bit of that Villa attack. Now I'm looking at Rodgers too, as he's been the standout performer so far, but surely with how good Watkins is, he's going to come good at some point, and this run could be it. This move is very likely to happen for me, it's just whether it's this week or next week. To get the extra 0.5 from Wood down to João Pedro would give me the money to go Isak to Watkins. I just quite like Wood against Wolves this week, and João Pedro plays against Arsenal, so realistically I want this transfer next week. So then it's just whether that Isak fixture against Tottenham is bad enough to change this early. And I'm not sure that it is that bad, even with Isak's potential price fall. Newcastle's last two home fixtures against Tottenham have finished 6-1 and 4-0 to Newcastle, so I don't actually mind keeping Isak this week. The only other transfer I'm looking at is to take Lewis Hall out and bring in a different 4.5 after he got benched last week. But I'm not sure it's worth a transfer at this stage of the season. He may come back straight into the lineup next week, and there's also not really any other 4.5 million defenders that are standing out to me. So that's just a thought in the back of my head, and it's not really a priority for me right now. Okay, now I'll move on to my actual team selection for Game Week 3. In goal, I've obviously got Raya. Back at home this week, Arsenal still look insanely strong defensively. And also, he's getting bonus points every week so far. A lot of people will be saying they've got to concede at some point, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if someone told me Arsenal went the whole season without conceding a goal. Yes, Brighton have looked good so far this season, but I'm trusting Arsenal again. In defence, I've gone for Robinson again. Fulham play away at Ipswich this week, and although I wouldn't be surprised to see Ipswich score at home in this fixture, Robinson has looked very good going forward, as do Fulham in general really, and with Ipswich having the highest XG conceded out of any team so far, I'm happy to have him in. I know Ipswich have played Liverpool and City, but it won't get much easier in the coming weeks. With the combined chance of getting a clean sheet and Robinson getting in those forward crossing areas, he could easily come away with good points again. Gabriel's back in the 11 for the same reasons as Raya. He's going to be in basically every week now. I guess there's a chance I drop him for that City game, but even then I might just keep him in. He also picked up a bonus point last week too, so even with the change in the bonus point system, we're clearly seeing defenders still able to collect them. He's got good goal threat from set pieces, although Brighton have also got quite a tall defence, so maybe not expecting him to score this week, but there's always a chance. Finally, I've got Concert away at Leicester. This was a decision between Concert against Leicester or Pedro Porro against Newcastle, and I've gone for Concert just purely because it's an easier fixture. Yes, I know Newcastle haven't been looked good, and Leicester have scored in both their games so far, but Villa should be much the stronger side here, and to be honest, I'm not sure I can ever trust Tottenham completely. Porro obviously has greater attacking threat, he even scored in Game Week 1, but with this run Villa have got of Leicester, Everton, Wolves and Ipswich, I expect at least 2 clean sheets of the 4, so I think he's worth having in. Okay, moving into midfield, and I'll just get this player out of the way first, as you'll clearly see on screen that I actually have already made a transfer. Yes, I know I would usually advise against making an early transfer, and I nearly did just leave it, but I also didn't want to be priced out of the move, and Palmer was expected to rise very soon. So yeah, the move I've done is to take out Son, and I've brought in Cole Palmer. It's for the same reasons I talked about in my potential transfer section. But they both scored big points last week. Palmer has a much better run of fixtures than Son in the coming weeks. And if you want me to be honest, I just think Palmer's going to score more points over the next 4 weeks than Son is. And if that goes wrong, then so be it. But I'm very happy to have Palmer back in my team. This isn't me chasing points or anything, because Son also got me 16 points. It's a well thought out move, and I'd already planned at the start of the season to do this move. I'm just doing it a week earlier than I initially thought I would. I've then decided to keep Eze. He's had over 450,000 transfers out so far this game week, so realistically he's going to price drop tomorrow or maybe the day after at the time of recording. I don't really see why that many people are transferring him out, to be honest. Yes, he blanked in game week 1 and 2, but he shouldn't have in game week 1, and he was unlucky in game week 2 as well. He's creating loads of chances and he's taken a lot of shots. He also scored and got an assist in the Cup against Norwich in midweek. They play Chelsea, Leicester, Man United and Everton the next 4, and so I'm happy to play him in each of those games really. I can definitely see him getting at least something from the game against Chelsea, so yeah, I don't see why so many people are taking him out. I'm happy to keep him, hoping that people realise they've made a mistake in a few weeks' time and then start bringing him back in so his price rises again. And then I've got Smith Rowe again, who scored against Leicester, and this week goes away to Ipswich. I can see him being involved in the majority of Fulham's goals throughout the season, and I've already spoken about why Fulham could be good attacking-wise in this game against Ipswich. So I'm happy to have him in again ahead of Minte, who plays against Arsenal. I'm also keeping in Jota in the hope that he keeps starting for Liverpool. Liverpool go away to Old Trafford in game week 3, and I've not been very impressed by United so far. This game always seems to have goals in it too, so hopefully Jota can get himself on the score sheet again and try to match Salah in points at least. Into attack, I've decided to keep Isak rather than bringing in Watkins. 2 reasons really. One, I actually don't mind the fixture at home to Tottenham, with the last 2 ending 6-1 and 4-0 in favour of Newcastle. For some reason, Newcastle just always seem to turn up for this fixture. And although Watkins is against Leicester, they actually haven't been too bad. And Watkins still doesn't look fully fit, and has missed some huge chances so far this season. The other reason is that, because I've done Son to Palmer, that is used the 0.5 in the bank that I had. So I would need to go Wood to João Pedro as well this week too to make up the funds, which is definitely not worth the -4 just to take out Isak. That would also leave me playing a Brighton asset against Arsenal, which I don't want to do, when I've got Wood against Wolves, who have just conceded 6. I still might do the transfer next week, but for now I'm happy with sticking with Isak, even with the potential price drop. As I've just said, that also means Wood is in my team. Wolves at home could be a decent fixture for him, as long as he keeps his name in the starting 11, and I don't see why yet he wouldn't, but there's always that thought in my mind. Unless I see something substantial in the press conference that suggests he wouldn't be in the starting 11, then he will be in my team, and I'll look at taking him out next week. And then finally it's Erling Haaland again. Captained once again, because why not? Why wouldn't you? The man's a beast. I don't see a different good captaincy option other than Palmer, so I'm happy to leave Haaland with the captaincy and put the vice on Palmer and see how it goes. That just leaves Pedro Porro, Minte and Lewis Hall on the bench, and there we are, that's my full Game Week 3 team selection. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully we can get another green arrow and get into the top 100k this week. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.